Hello and welcome to another Writerly Witterings with me, Michael Jecks, the tea-drinking author who is currently labouring under the after effects of a very bad cold or possibly COVID. And so if I seem a little bit jerky and odd, it's because I've had to halt for sneezes and coughs and clearings of the throat. But I have here one of those excellent cures for a lot of evils, which is a glass of red wine. For those of you who are wondering, I've been reliably informed by my blood monitor and by various other people here who watch this interesting series of little comments about diabetes, who say they find exactly the same thing. A glass or two of wine in the day reduces blood sugars overnight and makes things a bit better in the morning. Where's the logic? I don't know. But the trouble is, how do you know such things? Well, I have shown in the past these little gizmos. These are little monitors that you stab into your arm once. They last for 2 weeks. And now they continually update via Bluetooth, I believe, I haven't tried this yet, to your phone, so you know at all times, within a few minutes accuracy, what exactly your blood sugars are doing. That's jolly nice. There's this version, which is the Abbott Laboratories Freestyle 2, the Freestyle Libre 2, I should say. There's another one from an American company, and I've just been advised of a new one from China, which is coming over. And I'm going to be testing that and seeing how that works. But it sounds like it could be remarkably similar to these, but also significantly cheaper. These cost £50 per month, i.e. each of the sensors, sorry, not per month, £50 a fortnight. Each sensor is 50 odd pounds. What's in here is 50 quid. And that lasts 2 weeks. So for a year's use, you're looking at £1,200. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, that's just not feasible. So what do I do? Well, I'm looking forward to testing this little Chinese thing, but in addition, I have this, an Aga Matrix package. What is it? Well, I'll show you. It is a delightful little wallet, and it is supplied free of charge by my doctors in the National Health Service. What's inside? Well, I'll show you. First of all, you've got this neat little gun. Then you have an array of lancets, basically needles. I don't like these things, because every day they hurt me several times. Here you go. That is a lancet with a protective cover on it. Next, there is a little pot of test strips. And finally, there is a little electronic gizmo that tells you all the details you could ever want to... Where is the... Oh, there's the camera. You could ever want to find out about yourself. So turn it on, and then it will say, what do you want? Memory? You can go up and down various little things, hit the tick, and it'll bring up what was your last blood glucose level. This here is a convenient light, which is conveniently pointless in daylight. You can't see it at all, but still, there you go. 8.7 that says, which is how high my blood sugars were last time I tested myself after a meal yesterday. 8.7. I'd prefer it lower, but it's not too bad. So, what do we do with these things? Well, first of all, this is a little gun. You can cock it if you need by lifting that, and then you can press this button here which fires it. This is a little depth control thing, so you can fire it deeper or less deep. And to load it, you unscrew the top there, you take your lancet, shove it in, and then this lever on the side is the ejection button, so it's the way to remove your lancet when it's done. So reluctantly, I'll show you how it works. Reluctantly, because I don't particularly enjoy stabbing myself. That's the safety cover off the lancet. You should just be able to see the little needle sticking out there. Hopefully you can vaguely. It doesn't really show up very well on this camera. But that's with it on, that's with it off. So, put the thing on there. And now it is ready to fire. Here are my test strips. Now, I should just say that today I'm demonstrating this. I haven't eaten anything for some hours. What is the time now? It is, according to my watch, just gone 6 o'clock on Monday. And I last ate something at about 1 o'clock. Right, here is a test strip. Not very exciting. It's got little electronic connectors at the top. As you can hold it that way up, I might be able to see what I'm doing a bit better. There you go, electronic connectors. You put the electronic connectors into your device like that, and by inserting it, it turns on and comes up with a little droplet which says you've got to put a drop of blood on the end there. Now, it's an odd thing, this. I'm going to keep talking because I don't really like this part of the job. But here's the lancet, here's a finger. Rule of thumb is, if you have to do this, don't do it in the end. Don't do it at the top end of your finger, because that's where the largest number of nerves lie. So instead, do it further down, about halfway down the tip, and that way hopefully it won't hurt quite so much. And then the gun to fire. 3, 2, 1. That wasn't a bad one. Now, one thing is you have to wash your fingers obviously before you do any of this testing, because any impurities on your finger could be taken into your finger and cause all sorts of blood poisoning and stuff. For some reason, you're supposed to take the first drop of blood and just wipe it away and not use it. No idea why. But you need a reasonable droplet of blood, if you can see that. It's difficult to see what this camera's picking up, but there I've got some blood. Take my little sampler, and it's already picked up enough and is now reviewing what my blood sugars are. And the blood sugars are 5.9, which is pretty damn good. Nice and low, which is where I would expect it to be at this time of day. How do you tidy up? Well, first thing is, you register what your blood sugars are on whatever the system is that you're using. I personally have this bit of software called Oviva. This one here, which it's the way that I keep track of everything. It was a free bit of software that came from my doctors. It comes up with what's your weight, what's your blood glucose, tap blood glucose, and it says you can push it in. So what did I say? 5.9. 5.9. And it's after a meal, I would say. And it says, are you feeling hypoallergenic? No, I'm not. So save that. That's now saved. And if I hit this little graphical symbol, then it brings up, it should bring up. The trouble is, trying to see and do things remotely like this is next to impossible. So I'm just going to press it and call it up. So you can see there that it'll bring up all of the different data over time for all my blood sugars. Generally, they're good. 5.9, 8.7, 9.4 after a meal on the 19th was a bit high, but that was the 19th when I was still suffering from this flaming cold. And of course, colds will have an impact on things just as much as wine, beer, and other stuff. Everything that affects your body. Sorry, I've just removed the cover from the gun. Take it off. Here's the safety protection bit. Put that cap on there. At the same time as pressing it in, that has actually cocked it, so it's now ready to fire again, but never mind that. Now I'm going to eject the old one. There you go, ejected. Put the cover on that. Remove that from the reader, which now automatically turns off, so it saves battery. And these go in the bin. How exciting. Now, I've shown you all that, not because I'm a sadomasochist, but because it's something I do have to do regularly, and it occurred to me that many of you will possibly never have seen it. I know full well I've got brothers who are very squeamish at the sight of a needle, hypodermic, or something like this coming towards them, and the thought of actually stabbing themselves is deeply unappealing. Well, it's deeply unappealing to me as well, but it is something you have to get used to. Because even if these things seem to work, you still need to calibrate stuff, and testing how they're working by using one of these is a good idea, because it means you can keep track of what your bloods are doing and keep a better track on how things are generally. If you have excitement, I've mentioned before, going to a dentist pushed my blood sugars right up. I think because that's a fight or flight type of reaction. You're worried about going to the dentist because you know damn well he's going to drill a hole in the tooth, mainly because I'd lost half a tooth, so I knew it was going to do something. So the adrenaline kicked in, and the adrenaline is going to try to help you to run away from something. That's what adrenaline does. So it's going to convert a lot of fat into sugar in your bloodstream so you can run away. Running away would have been appealing, but never mind. I just had to go through the process of having... I'm not going to go through what he did. It was painful as a concept, but he was very good with his injections beforehand, and I didn't feel a thing, so that's good. Anyway, things like that will affect your blood sugars. Things like going out for a walk, having exercise, that will be good for your blood sugars. Everything has an impact, basically, and so keeping track of what is going on is a damn good idea. These things I find enormously helpful, apart from the fact that they are £50 every 2 weeks. I just can't afford £1,200 a year. Even though it would be good for my health, possibly, I need other ways of doing things which are going to be more effective. This is good for you, apparently. Great. One thing I would say is, certainly in the UK, if you have diabetes, these sorts of things should not cost you anything. This was free from my doctor on prescription. As a type 2 diabetic, I have to pay for these. But if you're type 2 diabetic, you should be able to get hold of a finger prick testing system, and on prescription you should be able to get it updated, and new test strips, new lancets sent through regularly. Which reminds me, I need to order some more lancets and test strips. But there's a huge amount of information out there for people who are diabetic. Any number of websites, any number of people who have a view. The difficulty you have got is that everybody's body behaves differently with different inputs. So depending on what sort of carbohydrates you eat, some people can find that in fact they can eat as many carbohydrates as they want, and actually they're intolerant to fat, and they can still get the difficulty with diabetes as a result. I know that a lot of people reckon that once you've got over the input of carbohydrates, the next thing is to look at how to recover your body's resistance to insulin, because a lot of people say that it is insulin resistance that is one of the causes for type 2 diabetes. I'm not going to go into that here. I may come back to that later. I haven't found any information realistically about finding out whether you are insulin resistant or not. So I'm going to be searching into that as well. But apart from that, thanks very much for watching. I hope that was all of some interest. For those of you who winced and felt so sorry for me when I just stabbed myself, it's all right. It's healed up already, and there's no more blood coming out, which is good, isn't it? Thanks very much for watching. Thanks ever so much to the patrons who are looking after me on Patreon. If you're interested in that, you can go down the bottom and find a link to Patreon for me. But apart from that, I don't care if you put money into that, really. This is me trying to make sense of my own diabetes journey and trying to help other people who may not be aware that they've got it. So, for now, thanks very much, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care.